often men will talk the talk, but your real job, and it's exactly the same for a man who's qualifying you, your job is to see, well, anyone can talk. Are the actions adding up? You know, if someone is saying, hey, I want to build the world with you, and then they're going through erratic behavior that indicates emotional turmoil, you know, I want to build the world with you, and then you haven't heard from me for a week, and then, hey, I've totally missed you, I've been away, and then he disappears again, and you're just like, this makes no sense. And the actions are stating where he's at, not the words. So I see this in all age groups is you've got to qualify someone based on their actions. It's very simple, but it's amazing how often we get stuck in their words and we make decisions based on the promise of words. Always look for someone's ability to maintain a relationship is going to be based on their actions, not their words. And so that's how you qualify the emotional health of someone is going, all right, how do his actions show up, especially when he's stressed, when he's not having a good day? Is there consistency or is there impulsiveness there? Is there lies or is there honesty even when it's tough? Just looking through these actions, because in the end, words, they don't mean anything if they're not backed up by actions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there are, I'm sure women too, but since we're talking to women, there are men out there who are really good with the verbal stuff, saying all the right things that women love to hear, but it's not backed up by that action.
Exactly. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in that, especially if you're really looking for someone, you really want someone. You have to take the time to qualify someone and see, do their actions over the months, especially those first few months, meet up and match up with their words.
Mm-hmm. And then there are those men on the other side who are not necessarily as good with the words, or they don't share as openly verbally, but they do show up. They do show up in a way that shows where they're coming from, that they care, that they're engaged in getting to know you.
Exactly. And women often forget how bad men are at words, like just how much we're not as adept at them. Luann Breslein's study, showed that women speak almost 3 times as many words per day throughout the course of their life. You know, women have deeper emotional bonds with their girlfriends far and away than men do with their guy friends. And one of the reasons men run from feelings conversations at times, especially when they feel pressured, is because they feel totally inadequate in those conversations. And show me a man that enjoys feeling inadequate. I don't think such a thing exists. So a lot of men will communicate, as you say, they'll show up with their actions. And in the end, you have to say, okay, well, go back to value. Is this relationship fulfilling me? You know, is this adding value? Am I taking responsible for what I'm responsible for? And engaging in a great relationship as well. And that should give you your answer. Actions, keywords.
Talk to us about assumptions, because I think this is a really big one that happens.
Yeah. And I think particularly in the sort of 20s and 30s, I see this a lot, is because it's not as evolutionary speaking, it's not as natural for women to date more than one man. They assume that men will be in the same space. And it's very, very important to remember, especially in the modern dating climate, that you can never assume exclusivity. Just don't assume it until he's actually said it with his words and you've clarified it, you guys have had a conversation. Don't assume it. I see way too many women burned by this because they go in thinking, oh, we had a really intimate night, you know, which men love because men crave that intimacy perhaps even more than women because it's so rare in their lives. You know, we have this intimate night. It must mean that he's only connected to me. And it's important to remember that's not necessarily true. So don't go assuming exclusivity ever. This isn't a bad thing. This is the way we date these days. We have the blessing of meeting more people. We have the blessing of options. We have the blessing to find someone in a very empowering 50-50 style relationship as opposed to what we maybe had 50 or 100 years ago, which was much more patriarchal. But that comes with the balance that men are going to date others, and you as a woman have every right to do that as well. Unfortunately, a lot of shame gets put on this. It comes from a few places. It comes from insecure men who are worried that they're not going to be good enough for the woman. It also, interestingly, comes from women as well who, for whatever reason, shame others for doing it. but you are fully within your rights to do that. You have more options as a woman, more sexual options, more, evolutionary speaking. Again, there's going to be more options there. So there is no shame in using those options. And if you ever feel like someone's being misled, if you feel like a guy is making assumptions, you can definitely clarify that. But don't make the mistake of thinking that multiple dating by definition is underhanded. It is done underhanded quite often by men, but that's just the way it's done. It is not like that by default, and you can absolutely do it in a high-value, empowering way that ultimately serves you in meeting the best guys.
Mm-hmm.
I have one woman in mind. She met her partner while she was openly dating with someone else. They'd just been on a couple of dates. She accepted a new date with a new guy, and that guy became her now husband. I hear this.
Well, and I think this making assumptions is not just in assuming exclusivity, but it's making assumptions that anywhere along the path toward commitment, until you've had that conversation, to not assume that is there.
Yeah, great point.
Because I think we can interpret things in certain ways that may not necessarily mean the same thing to this other person as it meant to us.
Exactly. And that's why usually the depth of difficult conversations you can successfully have, in other words, if you and your man can successfully have a difficult conversation on an not increasing frequency, but increasingly difficult, if you can get through those, it's going to be relative to the success of your overall relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, relationships aren't built on the good times. They're built on the tough times and bonding through the tough times. And you talk to any long-term married couple, they will tell you that while the honeymoon was fun, it was really perhaps the loss of a parent or a real stress or struggle that really brought them together and showed how strong they were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. That's true. So let me ask you this question, and I know you get asked this too. Women get to a certain point in a relationship, and let's say they're not making assumptions, but they really want to know or understand kind of where a man is at. And It always feels tricky. And this question around having, the talk, just the words, we got to talk, will make a man run, right? But
it doesn't have to, I promise.
What's your recommendation around that? I'd like to hear your point of view.
Well, the simple thing is you come in, you don't tell him to do anything. You're not becoming a should person. You should commit to me. You should want this. Anytime you use the word should, by the way, what you're either doing is accepting someone else's values or putting your values on someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I should go to the gym today. You don't really want to go to the gym today. You just feel like there's some other values that come in, right? You should commit to me. Okay, well, if he doesn't want to commit to you, it's not on you to put those values on him.
Right.
So the way you always come at these conversations is from your own perspective and say, hey, here's where I want to be. I want to be on the same page as you is a very good line to use. Just, I want us to be on the same page. Where are you at with things? And often what's happening with women who come into this conversation is they've had interest from other areas. Don't be ashamed to own that. Let's say we're doing this. I want to be on the same page as you, Michelle. I've had a couple of other women show interest. One old person's come back in. Haven't said yes to them at this stage, but I want to know where you're at so we can get on the same page. I'm really enjoying this. I love this, and I'd love to, take it further with you. I want to see if that's something you'd be excited for as well. If not, I don't want to feel guilty about dating others. Boom, done. You're just saying where you're at, and then it's 100% his choice. Because you don't want him to commit to you if he's not enthusiastic about it. So just ask him if he is, and then you get your information. And if he's not, one of those other people might be very keen.
Mm-hmm.
So, take out the
Yeah, exactly. What is it they say? Don't should on yourself or don't should on someone else.
Yeah, I love that. Really love that.
Yeah, so that's really, really, really a good way to have the conversation where you're saying it from that, here's what I'd like and here's where I'm at. And I want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And they're either like, I'm in, baby, or they're not. And then know.
And if they're not, it doesn't mean you won't be sad about it. Like you'd be like, look, I'd be devastated, but I would never want you to do something you weren't enthusiastic for. So I totally want you to make the call. You let me know and I'll process, I'll do.